When I started to say people like to have mental illness or disability, and then you just started memeing at me.
I started memeing at you because you brought up weird edge cases, I think, when we were having a generalized conversation about people having difficulty turning people down.
No, you're the one that
sex.
said schizophrenia or somebody in a wheelchair. You were just like making fun of the fact that I was
I was making fun of the fact that you were bringing up weird exceptions that were totally irrelevant to the general point that was...
He's just been talking about mental illness. He literally just said depression. That's not weird, is it? That's pretty, like, general.
You're bringing up a point... No, you're bringing up a point that is obviously true that doesn't need to be said and has nothing to do with the conversation.
So why did you make fun of me?
Because it was like, obviously okay, true, had nothing to do with the conversation.
But it's literally part of their conversation right now, which is relevant to the...
No. Predictors of assault aren't necessarily predictors of how you would deal with a sexual assault. These are two totally separate conversations. But also, this happens. Pixie did it to me earlier. Another person did it when they messaged me. This weird thing happens. It only happens with this assault conversation. It only happens with this, okay? If I say, what can I do to stay safe during a car accident? And someone's like, oh, you could put on a seatbelt. Okay, well, what if the car rolls over and catches on fire? It's like, oh, okay. Don't go into cars that like roll over easy. Stay away from SUVs and wear your seatbelt. Oh, okay, well, what if somebody T-bones me though? Well, I guess like pay attention at stoplights. What if the stoplight's not working though? Like in that case, it wouldn't help, right? It's this weird thing that happens where I'll say something like, oh, like you should say like no to guys. Well, what if they don't take no for an answer? I don't know. Well, then it's sort of physical boundary. What if he breaks my arm? Then I guess I don't know. What if I'm mentally retarded? I don't know. Like it's a numbers game. You do this weird thing where you bring up this like what about? It's like yeah, I mean those are part of it, but like it has nothing to do with addressing the overall broad point, and it only happens in this like conversation related to sexual assault, where you just like you bring up like a random thing. It's like in general you should be able to say no, or in general like there might be things that predispose you. Okay, well what about some mentally ill people? Like okay, go to therapy, get medication. I don't know how that factors into the conversation.
Well, I mean,